Thank you very much for taking part in this webinar where we will be discussing the differences between the master and the MBA at SUMAS with two of our former students, Mervin Lazaro, that has done the master with us, and Jennifer Girod, that has done the MBA with us. My name is Pascal. I'm the host for this session. I'll share with you some information about SUMAS and its program before we get to the thick of the topic of today. So, without further ado, let's start into it. So SUMAS is a school that started 10 years ago on the premises of we should do better as business professional. And we are a school that now today has this unique brand of education, blending sustainability into business. The main idea is really to create a place for business practices to be done better and to help communities, businesses, professionals move forward in a better way for themselves, career-wise, as well as for the planet in managing resources available. We have two physical campuses and an online one. The two locations are the Lake Geneva campus in Gland, Switzerland, where I'm actually welcoming you from. We are part of this conservation sustainability community here in Switzerland, in the city of Gland, which is one of the energy cities in Switzerland, based of the headquarters of the IUCN, and we have also the SUMAS Learning Center right next to it. So you see some familiar name on the board, Ramsar, that's working with wetlands, IUCN on conservation, and WWF on animal conservation and community. This is where we are actually taking our source. We are within the same building with these people. We have project with them. We have interaction and job opportunities being shared. So it's clearly an incentive, an advantage, and clearly an opportunity for us to be part of this with them. Then the second campus we have started in 2020. And I think, Mervin, you probably were one of the first being there, which was Milan. Milan is the second campus, and the newest one we have in Milan city, really downtown, close to the fashion district of Milan, where you have most of the events from the Milan Fashion Week. So for those of you that are actually keen on coming in September on our campus, just know that you should be there in Milan when you start on September 20th, which is the kickoff of the Milan Fashion Week as well. So additional incentive to be there in any way, and you can come visit us. The campus itself is based off Base, Milano, which is that building that has been, well, the owner passed away, then he was passed on to the city of Milan that repurposed the whole thing in an innovation tech center, innovation, sustainability and tech center, where you have the likes of Google. You also have offices from local services on business and commerce, which create dynamism and opportunities as well for our students. So there's two different environments. I would say really depend on the taste. It's possible for students to study in one or the other, or both, if you're interested. For some of you guys that are actually attending here today, we even spoke of doing hybrid studies, meaning that you can do part of the studies on campus and the rest online. I'm just going to clarify one thing, like you would see on the program, but intakes being different between online and on campus, you need to finish the program where you started, actually the module where you started it. SUMAS is offering different level of program. So we start educating students from high school. So from the year 11 with the IBCP program, career-related program of the IB in business sustainability with multiple specialization. So students can get a head start into integrating one of our programs. Obviously, they get a head start for the bachelor. So the bachelor is available only on campus, and otherwise all the graduate programs are available either on campus or online. Namely, you'll find the master, the MBA, the certificate of advanced studies, and the doctorate. The program being offered, you have 5 main specialties, and I'll detail for each program which one are available. But you see sustainability management, which is kind of the umbrella where you'll find most of the skills for general business. Then after that, you have very niche, more niche at least, more specialized set of skill in sustainable fashion, sustainable hospitality, tourism, and sustainable finance. Then you also have a very practical aspect to the studies, which I'm not going to detail too much. I'm not going to spoil the talk of my peers here today, but definitely the practical aspect is what makes SUMAS very different. The school itself was built on premises that there's enough literature talking about climate change, talking about what we should be doing, but there's also a lot of business practices that should be changed. And this is what we want to work on changing, creating a better world and better business practices. But how you're going to learn it is mostly through experience, without forgetting, obviously, the approach of the literature and the theory and knowledge. But it's really creating that blended business profile where you can understand business concepts, strategies, but also how you put them in place, what is happening in the real world, and how to apply them, for the solution. The school itself is accredited by the ACBSP, which is a business school certification. It's one of the most used around the world through business school, and over 2,400 institutions are using this accreditation, which guarantee that your degree certificate would be then recognized on a broad scale. Then here you see some of the accreditation and membership, which shows also the dedication we have to our local community. So we're part of that Swiss private school register, which translates into high standard of educational services, the QS star that rates university against rigorous and independent data collection. So we got 4 out of 5 star. And so we are definitely one of the only school in Switzerland in sustainability to have 4 out of 5 star. We are closer to get the 5. So it's only a matter of time. Then you also have the UN Global Compact Initiative that encourages socially responsible business, primarily through the UN Global Compact. PRME, which is a largest organized relationship between United Nations and business school, which we're part of. And finally, the related program from the International Baccalaureate that I've detailed slightly earlier. I'll be brief on the BBA because most of us here today are already past that stage, but we offer a BBA that would be 3-year fully in English on campus, and I have core module, business module, as well as specialized module. And every year you have experiential camp, company project, which we would also see translated into our master, for example. So there we are. For the master, you have 2 options. One would be the on-campus, the second one would be online. It's possible, as mentioned, to kind of blend all of this and make your own program. And this would be something that I can work out with you. So the on-campus is a 1-year full-time program with 2 intake, 2 semesters, with a start in September and then February. Usually, if you want to apply, you need to do it at least 3 to 4 months prior to help us work visa, accommodation, and all. If you want to study online, then the program would be slightly longer. It's almost a part-time version of what we do on campus. You can graduate in 15 to 18 months, depend if you want to do the final project, the capstone, concurrently to 1 term or not. You see up to 3 years, simply because you can choose to postpone some of the module and take them at a later stage. And then here, the pacing is slightly different with intakes in January, April, July, and October. So for the master, you have 4 program and major available: sustainability management, sustainable fashion, hospitality, and tourism. Here, quick overview of the admission requirement. For us, it's really important that we know you have prior education. This means it doesn't have to be also fully related to business. It can be something you've done elsewhere. It could be fashion, for example. We have fashion designers. We have people that have been doing fashion marketing, which is not exactly fashion business, but tied to it. So it could be, here you see bachelor transcript, but any education you've had prior that are equivalent. Placement exam, simply to test business knowledge. So it's not really a requirement, but it's something we check to make sure you have the best chance of success. IELTS, TOEFL, or we have also an online placement test where you can test your English to get in the program. Second part, which is what Jennifer would detail a bit later from her experience, is the MBA. So the same, it's a 1-year on-campus program with 2 semesters and start date in February and September, and online 18 months to 3 years, the same way with the same 4 intakes in January, April, July, and October. So both of these programs have a lot of similarity. There's one difference is at the MBA level, you have access to also the Sustainable Finance Digital Innovation program. That would be starting later on this year as a first cohort. Like we had sustainable finance for quite some time under a different name that was called Responsible Investment, but the program has been revamped for this coming fall. Admission requirement, the same. You would just see like the Duolingo English test, which is actually our internal placement test that you can take. There's additional learning opportunities, and I'll be brief on those. If you have any question, feel free. There's a certificate of advanced studies that you can take a specific module, dedicated module from our MBA related to sustainability. And you can do this program in around 5 to 11 months. And you choose 3 to 4 programs straight off the MBA. Second is the doctorate, the DBA, which is one step higher. It's something that's done for people that are working, that want to develop, I would say, additional knowledge. It's really research intensive in this way. So it's really another level, and it's guided, but most of the work, most of the research would come from student and the student body, obviously guided with our faculty members. In terms of careers, and I think we'll touch it with both Mervin and Jennifer. So what's important is also what you do after, the opportunities for you. Some of you guys here today have a full-time job, already already know they want to stay in this job because they probably get an opportunity later on to create or develop the sustainability part, or just simply to get promoted in the sustainability management role. But the one thing that's very important for me for you to show is a 24 million new job that will be created. And I think what's important is the created part above everything. Because for a long time, the trend was sustainability was added either to supply chain or production or R&D. And for now, it is moving in a way where it's a standalone role. It's not created on top, it's a new role. Here you see some of the opportunity that would be available upon graduation. Excuse me. So there's different role. There's obviously different industry. I would say sustainability analyst is something that you can do in small or medium company. Transition manager, and I think it would be interesting for you guys to hear also what kind of change management you guys can play, because there's always that part that plays a big role in changing the method of companies that have been doing business for, if not tens of years, sometimes more. But there's definitely a part that's on the psychology, changing people and how we see business. And I just want to touch one word on a chief sustainability officer, because I really believe that today, if you want to be a CEO, or if you want to be a CFO, put it this way, CEO, you could be, if probably, or you create your own company and give yourself that title. But if you want to be a chief sustainability officer, I feel like having knowledge and deeper knowledge and education in the field of sustainability would create a pathway that would probably be faster to reach if you have the right education to a CSO, Chief Sustainability Officer role, than it would be that if you just study accounting, like a lot of people, like I did at some point, to become a CFO. That competition is, well, there is competition, but there's not as many as other business positions. So yes, our education could also be a shortcut to a C-level position. Here you see different positions being made available. There's two main one. Here you see function in sustainability focus industry, obviously green companies, and you also have sustainability related role in companies that are not dedicated only to sustainability, that would be dedicated to their own business, but are now moving and integrating sustainability as part of their development. I'm not going to go through the whole list. It's quite long, but yeah, I'll be happy to share the list with you guys if needed. And finally, careers and employability. There's definitely access, and I think it would be interesting to hear from both our speakers today on the access you guys had of speakers, of events, or partners and projects you've been working on. And this week, we're also organizing here on campus, so some of you guys may have seen this on social media. We're actually having a career week. So I don't know if you've been seeing this, but there is a career week actually happening on campus where you see some of different events, speakers, some alumni were taking part as well. So it's really creating that additional layer, especially now that everyone is back on campus and with less restriction, it's a bit easier to organize. So that will be it for me. Now, I think we'll start with Mervin. And it would be great to actually hear from your side. What was your experience? What made you choose SUMAS? And how has it been since?
Okay, first, I'll introduce myself. I am Mervin Lazaro. I'm a sustainable wardrobe stylist. I just finished my master's last year, last July. The reason why why I took this master's because in Philippines, sustainability is still infancy. We don't know what sustainability is. We normally know it's just a trend on the fashion side. So I want to know. Got interested on sustainability. So that's the reason why I applied. Well, I took masters. So there. So when I studied sustainability, I know it's bigger than a trend. Actually, it's a need already. And then while taking my masters, and I decided to have like a social to have a business, which is a social enterprise that helps my fellow Filipinos. So right now I'm putting up a small business. It's a sustainable fashion brand for women that helps marginalized women. I'm putting up a small business here in the Philippines, and then in the same time in Milan. I studied SUMAS on campus, not online. So I enjoyed the benefits of being Milanese, actually. So if you're thinking to have to study in Milan, you'll enjoy. And at the same time, for the teaching method, I think SUMAS their teaching method is very experiential learning method. We did case to case studies. So at the same time, every week we have different speakers from different industries. So we normally hear what's the problem and then what's their solution to this kind of problem. So there.
So thank you for this introduction and starts, Jennifer.
Sure. So I have a very corporate way of presenting. So bear with me. Can you see my slides properly?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So hello everyone. Very nice to be with you today. So I've been asked to join you and talk a little bit more about my experience at SUMAS while doing the MBA. So just a little bit about me as I start, so you can see where I come from and how I got at SUMAS. So I'm actually working now at Procter Gamble in Geneva as a responsible beauty marketing specialist. I'm actually Swiss, born and raised in Gland, so very close to SUMAS actually. As a Swiss person, I'm a lot in nature. We live just around the mountain, so I'm very nature passionate. I'm music passionate. I love everything which is really local, like local events, associations, and so on. And so my background in studying, I closed my bachelor in economics back in 2014, also in Switzerland. And closely after that, I got hired as what we call business planning specialist at Procter Gamble in Geneva. So I was working for a few years in this role, and and then I decided that, well, I should do something more. And I started the MBA at SUMAS in, I think, 2018 until 2019, and that led me to after a new role, still at Procter Gamble, and that's the role I'm currently in, which was marketing specialist. And I have now new responsible beauty responsibilities. But, so that's just a little bit about me. But let's just go back to the MBA, which is really the key for today. So first, maybe why SUMAS? So back in 2017, I was working for a couple of years at P&G, and I was starting to think that I should look for a postgraduate course. So I am at bachelor, but I wanted to do something more. I always love to learn. So I wanted to do something. And I've always been interested in sustainability. As I told you, I'm very close to nature. When we live in Switzerland, we see, some effects also on the mountains. We see some melting of the ice in the mountains. And I've always been very interested by everything which is very local. So that was just making sense for me to learn more about sustainability. It was also a time back in 2017 where we started to hear more and more about plastic. Plastic was a big topic then. It was something which was coming as well. I could hear in the company as well. And I thought that maybe that's the way to think forward. But I had a few requirements back then because I was working, and for sure I wasn't going to stop working. So I needed to find something I could do part-time. I needed to find something which was close to where I work and live, or something I could do online. And I wanted to do something a bit original. I didn't want to do like just a standard master that we can. There are a lot of masters you can do when you finish a bachelor in finance, in management, and so on. But I wanted to do something a bit different. So I started looking around, and I found out about SUMAS and the sustainability management course. And I thought that was actually kicking all the boxes for me, linking my interest in sustainability, something a bit more original than what you see otherwise, and it was close to where I was working. And then, of course, I needed to decide what program I would take. So I was looking first. My idea was to do a master, but then I also found out about the MBA program, and I really did quite a lot of digging into the different programs. They are very close to each other, but they bring some different things. So I just needed to put my mind together on what to do. And basically what I've seen is that, MBA is usually intended for people with work experience. I was working for a couple of years already. I had work experience from the past. So I was thinking maybe that makes more sense. I want to, being working for a while, that makes more sense to do something with a bit more work experience. I also personally had a little bit more interest for the classes. So the few classes which differ between the two programs were a bit more interesting to me. And last but not least, really, and at least that was the case at the time, and Pascal can say if it changes, but the MBA, at the end of the MBA, we had a capstone project to do, which was really like a project you do over a few months where you handle a company online and you have to make it perform. Whereas in the master, at the end, you have the master thesis. And for me, while working, doing the capstone project was much more manageable than writing a thesis. So that was really the key things for me to decide that MBA was more for me than a master. So a little bit more about my experience at SUMAS. So what I've done during my MBA, given I was still working and I had to manage schedules, I did actually a multi-channel option, having both online and on-site classes. So that was really a privilege for me. So I could be on-site. I've met a lot of people there. I really love that we got people from lots of different origins from across the world. I met a lot of people, and it's very interesting to see how sustainability is perceived differently around the world. So that was really a chance. And I also took online classes, so it was more manageable for me with my schedule. So I could take some classes at the times which were fitting fine with my schedule, and the other ones on site. And from my experience for the a year and a half, I would say, I was at SUMAS. What I really remember are a few classes which were really unique. I remember, for example, a class about biodiversity, which is something I've never heard having that in a management course anywhere else. Some innovation class as well when we talk about materials and so on, and circularity. So those were really things I remember which were really unique and brought a lot to me. And Pascal talked about the partnerships as well. Well, strangely enough, the program I had while I was doing my MBA was a partnership with Procter Gamble as well, but a different unit I didn't know about. So it was very interesting as well for me to work on real projects with a real company and see how it actually helps and what the realities are. So we can really bring what we learn directly in a context, which is very interesting. So with that, I know also what the SUMAS team asked us to also share a bit more with you is what happens after SUMAS. So the opportunities. In my case, well, I finished my MBA in June 2019, and it was just the time for me to change assignments. So that's the way it works at Procter Gamble. We usually change assignments every 2-3 years, and it was just about the time for me to find something new. And there was actually a new opening in. I was working in supply chain up to then, and there was a new opportunity in a marketing position which was opening. Which usually when you in supply chain, you stay in supply chain. When you're in marketing, you stay in marketing. But sometimes you can change. And actually, the marketing position which opened was a position in a brand which was really sustainably driven and really wanted to lead the way there. And that's why the HR team proposed the job to me, because they knew I was doing this MBA. So they just came to me asking if I would be interested to change function. And that actually led me to this new job of marketing specialist. And the job evolving over the last 3 years. I have now also new responsibilities in what we call responsible beauty. So it's really a program to do a lot of efforts in sustainability and social responsibility. And that's all actually because the team knew I had studied sustainability in more details, and I could bring a few things. So it really opened a few doors for me. And the other things I wanted to say is that in my job title, and most people job title at P&G, well, we have a few exceptions. We have a chief sustainability officer, but for most people, you will not find the word sustainability in the job title. But the reason is that sustainability is becomes included in every job now in this company and in a lot of other companies, because there is really a change and people understand that we need to have sustainability embedded in whatever we do. So there's a lot of opportunity right now to drive new innovations, sustainability-led innovations. We need a lot of people who really understand what needs to be done when it comes to sustainability. And there is a lot of people to be trained on why is it so important and why do we do it. So yeah, a lot of opportunities are opening up in this field, and I think the MBA helped a lot to understand what's needed. So that's what I wanted to share today. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
I just want to add regarding the curriculum in SUMAS. Basically, in our case, MAM, the masters, the whole curriculum, the whole subjects, is sustainability injected in sustainability in terms of like our marketing subjects. There's a sustainability everything. Like most especially our case, we have a course, sustainable fashion management. We discuss everything about sustainability in fashion, the supply chain. So basically, SUMAS helped me for my case, since I'm putting up a brand, help me how to fix this, the right sustainability, the right supply chain. And then they're helping me through our professors. They're giving us right people to talk to have a first-hand experience about sustainability. That's a good thing about it if you're studying in Milan on campus, because you can easily talk to the people in Versace, in Prada. They can hook you up actually. There.
For sure, it makes a difference on the network being on campus. There's one thing that's that's true, and that translates into that practical aspect. Jennifer mentioned that most university would have a thesis. What you've had, Jennifer, I think it was called CEO Challenge, but I'll let Mervin explain what was your final project.
It's a capstone project. So normally in capstone project, we look for a client. In my case, I look for a fashion brand that is looking for a sustainable a project. So me, in my case, I talked to one of the sustainable fashion brand in Milan, Rifo. They ask for my help through making sustainable project, like creating a sustainable loyalty program. I create a sustainable loyalty card for them, and I believe they're using it eventually. So there, it's a unique experience actually. It's not a thesis, but it's an actual project. It's an actual need of the company.
Yeah. For
So there.
For the clarity, so the MBA have that CEO challenge, where, as you say, it's actually taking a company and managing it through the length of the term or the length of that module actually until you, well, usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of business simulation, you always start when something went wrong on the market. It would be too easy if everything goes well. But usually, yeah, that would be the CEO challenge. In contrast, and what Mervin just described, it's what we call sustainable project consulting. So, which is literally taking the experience over the month that you have studied that master. How do you run this project? You've seen a lot of case studies, you've seen a lot of things, but it's really taking it to another level, approaching a company, actually solving it.
Yes. Basically, all of our learnings will be applying that in capstone project. Whatever the company needs from us, we need to apply all of our learnings from different subjects.
There's another question that came on the capstone project. Both of you have done this capstone on campus?
Me, yes, I did on campus, because I have to coordinate with Professor Julia. So there, it's on campus actually. But I believe online, they still have capstone project too.
Yeah, I don't know if Jennifer, you've done on campus or online the capstone?
I've done a CEO challenge and I was fully online.
Okay, so why I'm pushing that point, simply because I had the question coming in for the online campus, do we get capstone project in person? So no, actually, for students that would study online, at no point you are required to physically be here, except for visiting us whenever you want. But should you do the capstone can be done online or on campus. Having said that, if you want to do the whole program online and do the capstone on campus, it's probably something that's possible, but I would say it depends on visa. Mervin, you can relate to that idea of having the visa and having all the paperwork being done.
Actually, SUMAS helped me fixing that. So basically, SUMAS will give you everything, all of the requirements for the embassy requirements to fly to Milan or to Switzerland. So basically, they will give you all of the requirements.
So I'm just going to take one question. As I see Sutish has put that question in the chat about the DBA. Is the DBA, well, none of you have done the DBA yet, maybe coming years. I'll just address this one. The DBA is actually usually the program that you would do after years of experience, or if you want to develop higher level competency and literature and research specific, this can be done online or on campus. Having said that, it's mostly done actually through seminars. So it's something that's done. There are seminars, I think every 10 weeks, 12 weeks that you can attend. And this way, if you're physically here, you can fly in and attend the seminars in person. Otherwise, you can attend them by video conference. But I hope that helped. Could you clarify again if attending on-campus classes is possible when choosing the online program? I saw another question that was coming on this. The on-campus program is more expensive, if I recall correctly. What are you offering for the extra money paid? Well, definitely the networking that's facilitated, all the on-campus events, guest speakers. You have access to some online, definitely, but this is a different level. There's one thing to take into consideration is SUMAS also have kind of small classes environment, which even when we invite guest speakers that allow for personal approach, like you can meet business executive and talk face to face with these people. So I don't know if that was your experience as well, Mervin, Jennifer.
Yeah, I have that experience actually in Milan. We have a every week talk from different industries actually of sustainable officer. So we had a talk with Eco Age. We had a talk with Versace, sustainability officer. So for me, if you're going to ask me, I like on campus because you can. There's so much benefits actually you can get it.
Well, definitely. I mean, on-site, I would recommend the on-site program because of the networking. When you do online, I mean, even if you collaborate sometimes with other students, the networking is completely different. You cannot make the same connects. When you're on site, you can really network with other students, with the teachers in a different way, and with speakers. So yeah, that's things you cannot do in the same way when you take online classes.
Some of our attendees today, like I see actually people from Southeast Asia, people from Europe, people from Middle East. You have Switzerland. But what sustainability mean in Switzerland, and when you speak to people like abroad, you realize like, or Italy, but we're not on the same page. Like we're kind of on a different level. You see US has different expectation on sustainability and what should be done. So I don't know if that was your experience as well, or that was part of yours, Mervin.
Actually, yes, I agree. I agree on what you've said. In each country, there's a different levels of sustainability based on what I saw. Most especially in Italy, they practice sustainability seriously. Actually, they have a certain law. While in my country, it's still infancy. So I think it's there's different levels of sustainability practice actually. It's a good thing for me. I'll be honest. It's been an advantage for me that I studied in Milan because right on there I saw their actual practice, the actual law or the actual practice of sustainability, which is I can use it here in Philippines.
Yeah, I'll take another question that was asked. Can we choose between the campus in Switzerland and Italy, and what's the difference between the two? I've explained to a student this morning that Milan is not Gland and Gland is not Milan. There's definitely a different aspect to it. Gland, and I think Jennifer is one of the best ambassadors to speak of the city because you grew up here.
Sure, it's a small city, but it's indeed what you said is true. It's a place where really the politics want to make changes. We see a lot of good practices in sustainability as well. And I think the relation with the IUCN, which is next door, is also very interesting. It's very close to Geneva, which is also an international city. But yes, you have to know that you're not going to a huge city like Milan, for example. So it's a different way of living, a bit more quiet. But it's a beautiful place to be if you want to experience something different.
Gland is also a place that people probably don't know, but it's well connected. So we're 25 minutes from Geneva and half an hour from Lausanne. So Geneva might be a more familiar name for everyone because of the UN, the ILO, and all the international organization. And Lausanne is also a very dynamic city with the the International Olympic Committee being based there, and there are also big companies, PMI, British American Tobacco. There's huge corporation being based right off our doorstep. So it's a dynamic area in Switzerland as well in terms of jobs and in terms of prospect. But yeah, it's different vibes, it's different structure, and it also, let's face it, is also a different price point. And I saw why I'm adding this is because I see like someone was saying like it's there's a different in price. Mary was asking that question. There's different in price, so is there a different in program? The program itself is the same. It's the same program. It's just based off, and I'll bounce off another question that was asked, a living cost. So yeah, living expenses, could probably share more details if you guys want to know, but yeah.
On my experience for Milan, well, you can get like an 800 for room for monolocale for a flat, and then or you can get like a 1,000. But I have a classmate in Sumas. She rented just a room. She's just paying like 500 euros
Mm.
a month. And then for the food, well, it's up to the person actually. For I think in Milan, you're safe like 50 or 60 euros a day, because in Milan there's the food is super cheap. If you eat in breakfast, just a brioche and espresso and salad by lunchtime. So basically by 80 euros you can survive per day.
There was a question about the hybrid version that you've done, Jennifer, that was asked, like, do we register online or do we choose on campus? Actually, I believe on the application process, you can actually choose hybrid. I don't know if you've made that decision from the start, Jennifer, or it was something that just came along.
I think I told it from the start with the SUMAS team.
Yeah,
so it was planned, but then which classes exactly and when, that was decided as I was going through the program.
I would say to answer that question a bit easier, it also depends if you need a visa or not. As there are visa restriction for a number of hours you need to do on campus, so it's a consideration to take. Usually you need at least 5 modules on campus to be taken. So let's say you take 5, the rest of the classes can be done online, and after that it's a calculation. If you don't need a visa, if you have a European passport and you say, oh, I just want to do 2 courses in Milan while I'll be, I don't know, almost taking a year off from my studies, it's fine. You choose. I would say probably go in the spring. It's nicer than the fall. You can come in the fall in Switzerland, enjoy ski and have fun around here, and go in the spring in Milan. It's possible to do that, but it's a calculation to make on, and it's definitely on the case by case. We usually make a proposal, then a calculation, because it's calculated per credit on the cost as well. So it's how we should go about it. There was a question about capstone project. So I think that's bouncing off the what you were saying earlier, actually, Mervin. But because I think it's related to what you were describing. Is the company something you've choose or something it's been allocated? Did you have to look for the company or was it provided?
Okay, actually, it's up to us. The school is giving us a company, but for me, I decided to have my own company. I have to look for my own company.
There was one question which, well, would be perfect for both of you. For on-site, do you have statistic? And I think we do have statistic, but I think I also want to hear from your experience, the average number of students in each campus cohort. So how many students you guys had per class, and what was the typical age of or experience in your class?
I can start. So I would say 6 to 8 students per class. So it's rather small classes in the MBA. Typical age. I had some class with the masters, some class it was only MBA, but I would say around 25 to 30 years old mostly, but some were also a bit older, so it was a mix. Experience was a mix as well. So the older people had more work experience. The classes which were together with the masters, some had no experience. So it was really depending. Just the MBA classes, it was mostly people, I would say, with a bit more experience, but not necessarily. In my case, I had only 2 years of working experience, and some people had 15. So it was or 20. So it was different. And mix of local versus international. I think we were 2 locals when I was there, and all the other students were international, either from Europe, but also Latin America and India when I was on campus.
Based on Milan, our basically we're just like 8 students per class, or 6 or 7 normally, like that. And then regarding age, it's so diverse. I think I'm the oldest student because I took my master's last year at age like 42 years old actually. So, and then I have a classmate which is like 30 years old. And then regarding international students, half of my class mates, half of the class are international students and half are locals. Well, when you say locals, there are like 2 Italians, and then one is French and the other one is, I think, from Swiss.
Yeah, so there is some common module that you would do between the master and the MBA. There's also specific module that you would do only with the MBA or only with the master, because it's related to the pathway. In the age and distribution, I would say it also varies drastically if you study on campus or online. In your case, Jennifer, is also what you describe. People that would be probably a bit younger is also because some people have been in and out of work, or they're just taking time for themselves because they're a bit younger in their career. So they can make up the time and say, I'll do it full on campus if I'm not fully employed, or I'll just cram that 1 year, do my studies, and then I'll work for the next 40 years. Online, the gap is actually, well, the mix is slightly different. You would have 15-20 years of experience for an MBA, and maybe 3 to 10. I would say 3 to give an average, 3 to 5 on average for a master. Some are fresh grad, obviously, straight off a bachelor, they would do their master. But for the MBA, it's really depending. As you said, some people have 3 years of experience because there's the minimum requirement, and some have 25 years of experience in sustainability or something related. So it creates also a interesting dynamic from one lesson to another. The main language that was used on campus, our primary setting, English, yes. How much time commitment weekly both courses are. Okay, let's start on campus. Mervin, as mentioned, and I think that's what drew the question.
Okay, based on my experience, 24 hours, because you don't have time, because you have to read books, like different kinds of books, and then you have to report that, and then you have exams, and then you have number of projects. So I think commitment, it's like, for me, all of us, like, it's like we're studying 24 hours.
It's not an easy answer for me, because I was sometimes doing 2 classes, sometimes 3 classes at the same time. So I cannot really say, and it really depends on classes, but it's like, I don't know, you have 2-hour classes, you have the same at least at home to be prepared for your next class. So yeah, maybe if you have 15-hour classes a week, you have 15 hours to do at home as well, or just on average. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah, for the online, what we usually say, you have 2 to 3 hours of work, even for an online module per week, per module. Does that sounds all right? Yeah, because if you're on campus, just to contextualize for everyone, it's usually the lecture per module per week is 3 hours. So we expect is roughly the same time you would spend online, actually doing the studies, going through the material, reading the book assignment, making the report presentation, and group communication as well. Are the on-campus classes only available for the 1-year full-time study, or can you attend the program also with 8-month, 3-year time frame to be able to do the MBA part-time while working? I think there's two things to clarify on this. It is possible, but let's differentiate a few things. Like it is possible to do the on-campus part-time if you don't need a visa, but you would need to come when the lecture actually happen. I think Jennifer, you were mentioning this, like you are taking on campus the lesson you could attend based on your schedule, on your work schedule. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. The lectures are happening at a certain time, so it's a matter of managing calendars.
Yeah, so it is possible. I would say if you're here in Switzerland or if you're in Italy and we tell you, oh yeah, we have this lecture that would be happening Thursday 2 p.m. and it would be until 5, then we can try to be flexible, but let's be clear, like we can't manage everyone's schedule as well. Like we can try to accommodate, but it's also you need to make the time. So it is possible to play around this and have that kind of flexibility. I would say if you're not sure that you can have the whole time frame, either the online program is offering that flexibility. Obviously, there's pros and cons attending a program online. It's also a commitment you make to yourself on actually doing the studies, but it adds that flexibility as the lecture are asynchronous. The content is fully asynchronous. You can join whenever you want, study whenever you want within that time frame of 1 week. So it is possible, but while working, my preference, unless you're living in Switzerland and right next to our campus, would be to suggest or actually advise on the online. That would grant you flexibility. But if you were in Geneva, Lausanne, Nyon area or around Milan and be able to jump in the class based on schedule through a half day or some sort, then yeah, it's probably the only way it could work. There was one question about scholarship and deadline. There is scholarship opportunities. Most of them would be actually on our website. There's deadline for application, as mentioned, if you need a visa as early as possible. And are there any networking possibilities event for participants on the online program? So there is networking opportunities. There is possibility to do this. Simply, it's not entirely the same as described earlier. It's possible to join event. I think there's guest speakers also being available online once we have live session. If you guys look on our LinkedIn, for example, we had this career week where some sessions were available for everyone. We actually had video conference with our online students that could literally take part of the career week in the session, meeting with the speakers. So either we had we have that create that connection as well. So it is possible. If you were self-employed or full-time employed, and which program you would choose. I understand what you were saying, Jennifer, earlier was you wanted to stay employed. So it was one of your requirements. You wanted to keep the job, but still being able. And one of the decisive factor in choosing the MBA is because you already had work experience.
Yes, exactly. So I don't think it changes in the schedule between both programs. It's more in the type of classes and maybe also the relationship with the other students that it changes a bit if, depending on where you come from. But I don't think it changes. I mean, if you're, I don't think one program is above the others. It more depends on what you know from before and what you want to keep running on.
Yeah, I had this question before that was asking me, is the MBA a higher qualification than the master?
I would just say, I mean, most classes are similar, so I would just say it's a matter of if you need more to learn about numbers or if you need more to learn about soft skills, I see what you're saying.
Anything, Mervin, on your side to add to this?
Actually, I agree with Jennifer and with what you've mentioned a while ago. The masters, it's like focusing on the process of the whole business side, sustainability. But on MBA, you deal with the whole thing, like the numbers, the datas, the whole thing. And then you're acting as a CEO, something like that. So for me, for based on what I've experienced and saw with my MBA classmates, it's completely different from masters. If you're eyeing for a higher degree, I think MBA for me.
I think
Does
it's
it make sense, right?
yeah, it's also on the I would say it's the focus of it. As it was mentioned by Jennifer, it's also like what do we do inside the program? It's more number driven, and usually the focus on number gets with the higher position. So it's not that the master would be less on numbers, but it's clearly managers are advising on budget, they're advising on cost, and they're looking at numbers on different aspects. So they need to be good on these numbers. I'm not saying a master should not be good with numbers, but it's a different level of expectation. Different level of expectation. There was one thing that I probably have said that was 2 to 3 hours per week required for online MBA learning. It was 2 to 3 hours per week per module. So usually the course load is 2 to 3 modules. So I would say it's 6 to 10 hours, being conservative, depending how fast you work. But that's the expected time frame. 6 to 10 hours, you should be able to cover everything. One additional question that was, for a person running his own business in waste management, would any of this degree help in exploring his business? So if you already work in waste management, do you think it's interesting to pursue additional education? An MBA or a master would definitely change probably what you've seen, what you've been doing as a business, creating new opportunities. I think I would use your case, Mervin. I don't know you that well, but I believe you didn't wake up one day and decided you wanted to work in fashion, but probably have been in the field for quite some time and just needed an additional layer of knowledge. Is that correct?
Actually, yes. So through studying sustainability, it helps me a lot in like creating the waste into business, something like that. Through the different courses that SUMAS giving us, like for example, in sustainable innovation, sustainable fashion management. So if the question is, it um
So let's say, to contextualize, because waste management is not my specialty. I don't think it's probably not yours as well, but in the context of fashion, that was your interest. Adding that layer of sustainable fashion, was it helpful? That additional layer of education, was it helpful?
Yes, it is. It's so much. It helps me a lot, actually. It helps me to think the whole thing, the whole supply chain, plus thinking a new business, creating a new business through like the scraps of whatever, something like that. So it broadens your idea. It opens the whole thing if you're studying sustainability.
Yeah. So thanks for that. There's one additional question. I think it was a follow-up question from one you've answered earlier, Mervin. I was asking, does the school allocate one project company in a specific area or geography? It's like it would be could you have done this in your home country, or could you have done something else? Or it needs to be like, let's say if you wanted to work with a company in your home country, would you have looked for it yourself, or how did that work, the allocation of the projects?
Well, based on my experience, I have to look for a company based in Milan because there's a constant interview, there's a constant meeting, updating, and then there's a lot of data I have to get from them. So I decided to get a company from Milan. It's so hard to get a company from Philippines because I know the fact that there will be more what's this? I forgot. I'm running out of words again. Communication, something like that. Should be based in Milan or based in Switzerland, so that there will be more efficient, more effective of like communicating
Communication.
with the client, something like that.
Right. Yeah, I understand. So for people that have asked for additional information about sustainable finance, yes, please, I'll just write an email or get back in touch. But I've noted some of you guys. I'll share with you as soon as it's made public. Is there a need for background knowledge about business and management for the MBA? If yes, it's best you have some business knowledge. There's one thing that I've touched up briefly on the admission requirements. I would say you can get admission without the knowledge, but we also prepare students with additional module if you have no knowledge of business to kind of top up. So that this way it would actually help you in succeeding. So there's a questionnaire that you do after you've been enrolled, and we'll tell you, okay, you need to top up on this or this aspect of business and management to make sure that once you start the program, then you'll be up to speed. It's a short courses, usually 6 to 10 hours, but it should be enough to get started. Mervin, Jennifer, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for all our attendees being here. Everyone, you would receive the recording of this session and any additional information you may need. Me and my colleague from the recruitment and admission team are happy to help.